Howdy folks, and thank you for stopping by for today's video. Today I am using this chart here, except we're going to change. There we go, that's better. You may be in an abusive government if they, and then below it shows the 15 signs that you might be in an abusive government. I hope you enjoy. Make sure to leave comments in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think. And also, if you were in a relationship like this, or you had a friend that was in a relationship like this, what would you do? Enjoy the video, y'all. Starting off with number 1, stop you from seeing friends or family.
Should people now cancel their travel plans for Christmas?
To the extent possible, don't travel, don't congregate together.
The CDC is actually advising people to cancel their Thanksgiving travel plans altogether.
As the new year quickly approaches, the CDC is urging people to stay home to celebrate New Year's Eve and New Year's Day.
And an Orange County family is seeking answers from a local Bakersfield hospital tonight after they say that the hospital told them that they could visit a dying loved one, but have since changed their mind due to COVID-19 restrictions.
Gosh, just give me a few minutes. Let me say my goodbyes.
The family tells me that their father is currently at this hospital suffering from a stroke, but his time is limited, which is why the family is trying so desperately to be by his side once more.
Number 2, won't let you go out without permission.
A statewide order for people to stay at home.
They're not recommendations, these are orders that all non-essential state employees shall stay home from work.
Today, I will be issuing a statewide stay-home order for all of Idaho. All our residents will be subject to a stay-at-home order.
So the curfew takes effect tomorrow at 10 p.m. All non-essential activities will be banned from 10 p.m. until 5 a.m. So in those overnight hours, this will last for 1 month and end on December 21st. This only applies to the counties in the purple tier, which right now does account for about 94% of our state's population.
Number 3, tell you what to wear.
We can't come to the floor. I can't execute my constitutional duty unless I wear a mask. Well, which is it? Vaccines or masks? They want to go back to school without their children being forced to wear masks, to be put in a corner, to have mental health issues.
For them calling it a continued willful disobedience for not complying to the mask mandate. I previously had one $500 citation. They locked me in the lunchroom before I was even suspended, and then gave me a second $500 citation for trespassing after my suspension, and then proceeded to arrest me after putting the school in lockdown for an hour and a half. Even though I was not a disturbance, I just sat in the lunchroom asking to go back to class.
Locked you away for all intents and purposes because you weren't wearing a mask.
And we're running around here, and the speaker comes down here at 10 o'clock in the morning saying we got to wear masks.
Well, Lee, Saturday at midnight, everyone 5 and older will have to wear a mask indoors. Now, mandate violations will cost you up to $200 in fines.
Number 4, monitor your phone or emails.
An operation called PRISM, by which the U.S. intelligence has been mining data from several different internet companies. What's your take on this, on top of what we learned earlier today about Verizon handing over phone data to the NSA?
The NSA boasts in training materials that the program called XKeyscore is its widest reaching system for developing intelligence from the internet. So all the things you've heard before about PRISM, etc., well, wait till you get a lot of XKeyscore, because by their own admission, this is the widest reaching system for gathering information.
Orders for phone records of Americans, innocent Americans who we know have absolutely not any connection to criminal or terrorist activity.
So let's find out more about it. One presentation claims the program covers nearly everything a typical user does on the internet, including the content of emails, websites visited, and searches, as well as their metadata.
So we must know, for example, that the government thinks it's all right to collect the phone records of Americans for 6-7 years at a time, just routinely on a daily and ongoing basis.
The phone in your pocket right now might be a government spying device, according to a stunning article from the Guardian newspaper in the UK. The story says a top-secret court order is forcing Verizon to turn over all phone records for calls made in the U.S. to the National Security Agency, and not just calls made to overseas numbers. When you call grandma in Nebraska, the NSA knows.
Number 5, control the finances or won't let you work.
Certainly doesn't make it any easier, but we want to focus on who this deal would actually impact. And many Americans say while some of the figures do sound nice, they won't get very far in reality.
$300 is half of what people needed to survive, and the bigger problem is that it's not retroactive. There's been 5 months with no additional benefit.
$600 is what rich people think, poor people think is a lot of money. In reality, that additional $300 and that additional $600 one time is not going to pay any of these accumulated debts.
Number 6, control what you read, watch, and say.
Since the Planet is the first global internet censorship observatory that collects data continuously from more than 170 countries without end users' participation.
And similarly, like users of a company like Facebook should know that, those communications that they put on their Facebook are being mined in this way by the government.
Facebook shadow bans. Yeah. Facebook's notorious for it, and they say they don't, but it's clear that people's content don't comes up because it's been defiltered off the queue.
It's a very progressive company who's very anti-MAGA.
If you see a conservative post, you just get rid of it, right? Right.
I don't give a I'll delete it.
You gotta get the Cheeto out of office.
He saw and filmed evidence of structural and cultural bias inside Facebook, discriminating against Republicans and conservatives.
At a company that handles the flow of conversations, basically a large portion of the discourse online. And we are essentially in charge of what gets said and what gets stifled.
Number 7, monitor everything you do.
Quote, court decisions have consistently upheld that there is no warrant necessary for GPS tracking of a vehicle when the vehicle is in a public space. Recently, a U.S. Court of Appeals reaffirmed the government's ability to use GPS devices on cars.
Tracking you using those license plate scanners that are popping up everywhere these days.
Guardian explains analysts can also use XKeyscore and other NSA systems to obtain ongoing real-time interception of an individual's internet activity. So if it's not enough that they can get your information from the past, they can actually watch you do it real time.
You know, is it really just coming to some sort of understanding of what the government does and what the government is capable of? Because this isn't going to stop.
Well, I think there's actually a kind of a simple solution, which is that we shouldn't be collecting information about people unless we have some reason to suspect them of a crime or a terrorist act. I mean, we just simply shouldn't be doing dragnet surveillance. Proliferation of surveillance programs that the government has put into place, and we don't really know about them. I mean, we only know a little piece of them that comes out every time somebody reveals a secret document.
Brandon Scott has our story.
These high-tech cameras zero in on the license plates of every car that passes, taking upwards of 2,000 images per minute. The photos are instantly sent to national databases that log each vehicle's exact location, along with the date and time it was there. 70% of the nation's police departments use this technology.
They can track you around the country.
License plate cameras and the data they collect remain unrestricted.
It's kind of scary when you think about it. I don't know what you can do about it, but it's, there's nowhere to hide.
Right.
Number 8, punish you for breaking the rules, but the rules keep changing.
The result, a confusing patchwork of rules.
Do the vaccines work or they don't work? Do the masks work or they don't work? I'd like to know which it is.
White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki has tested positive for COVID. Psaki has not seen the president since Tuesday when they sat outside more than 6 feet apart and wore masks. She is vaccinated.
Oh, but sorry, the vaccine doesn't work. You must wear a mask.
For those who haven't been following the stay-at-home order from Governor Walz, you're going to want to listen up because it might cost you. Nearly 24 people have been charged for simply not following the rules. 23 people have been charged with violating Minnesota's stay-at-home order. Now, if you do get caught, you could face up to 90 days in jail and a maximum fine of $1,000.
People ignoring or violating those orders.
Got a kid with her.
Number 9, tell you it's for your own good and that they know better.
My message to unvaccinated Americans is this: what more is there to wait for? What more do you need to see? We've made vaccinations free. Even though the vaccine is safe, effective, and free, vaccine is FDA approval.
We came into this show with Governor Kay Ivey, that, she can't teach people common sense to get the people of her state to get smart and listen to the facts and get vaccinated so people don't die. It's like that simple. Is it not the people who choose to remain unvaccinated right now who are causing all of this?
Yeah, there's no doubt that data supports that.
I'm a doctor. Roll the up and get the vaccine.
Thank you. Number 10, don't allow you to question it.
I'd like Dr. Fauci to come down and answer a single question about natural immunity. If you've been infected with a virus, do you have immunity? Or are they just going to go around poking people saying you must take a vaccine?
A prominent doctor, meanwhile, in California says he was fired after questioning stay-at-home orders in Contra Costa County before the state mandate.
I believe in being honest. I believe in not lying to the press and hyping up the numbers to scare the general public into taking a vaccine that is brand new, that we don't know anything about. I don't think that it was right to coerce staff and to make it look like the hospital was overrun by COVID patients when that's simply not the truth.
Number 11, tell you you're crazy and no one agrees with you.
These folks back there have lost their mind. You've lost your minds.
What is it going to take to get people to get shots in arms?
I don't know. You tell me. Folks supposed to have common sense.
A lot of you are probably thinking, Ross, this is pretty harmless. That is where anti-vaxxers come in.
I used to think vaccines were safe, and now I know that they are not.
So-called anti-vaxxers have blanketed social media with misinformation campaigns.
Do not have to panic about measles. Do I believe that I'm causing harm by not vaccinating my child? No, I don't.
Well, you're a fucking idiot. As simple as that. Just go for it.
Number 12, call you names or shame you for being stupid or selfish.
Those who just try to make this a political issue. Freedom. I have the freedom to kill you with my COVID. No, I mean, come on, freedom.
President Biden demanding first responders who fail to comply with vaccine mandates lose their jobs and mocking people using freedom as a defense for not choosing to get the vaccine.
Beg your pardon?
Will you require all federal employees to get vaccinated?
That's under consideration right now, but if you're not vaccinated, you're not nearly as smart as I thought you were.
And not just to think about, well, my freedom is being kind of disturbed here. No, screw your freedom. Yeah, you have the freedom to wear no mask, but you know something, you're a schmuck for not wearing a mask.
Because of those, the anti-vaxxers or whatever you want to call them.
I can name every organ in your body and tell you exactly what it does. Because I'm a doctor. You heard what? On whose podcast? Then tell him to shut the up. The doorbell's right here, by the way.
Thank you. Number 13, gaslight you, challenge your memory of events, make you doubt yourself, which, for the sake of time, I'm just going to focus on the gaslighting part.
Gaslighting is basically when somebody in a position of power denies objective reality to a vulnerable party. And they lie blatantly. They lie about things that you can see with your own eyes.
While Mr. Biden said he would be willing to get a vaccine, he would not require it for all Americans.
I don't think it should be mandatory. I wouldn't demand it be mandatory. So let's institute a mask mandate nationwide, starting immediately. I don't think it should be mandatory. I wouldn't demand it be mandatory. So tonight, I'm announcing that the Department of Labor is developing an emergency rule to require all employers of 100 or more employees that together employ over 80 million workers ensure their workforces are fully vaccinated.
And the reason they do that is not just to tell the lie, but to show their power, to show that you have been essentially rendered ineffective in that dynamic, and that you have no choice but to kind of buy into their own reality.
I don't think it should be mandatory. I wouldn't demand it be mandatory. But our patience is wearing thin, and your refusal has cost all of us.
Number 14, dismiss your opinions.
2,000 firefighters, or more than 2,000 firefighters, have been calling out sick, and it's, I guess, related to the mandate.
Hold the line! Hold the line! Hold the line! Hold the line!
Freedom. This idea of freedom. There's so many people that think it's frivolous, it's not important, it's not the main thing that we should focus on.
Built on their mortgage, while you, because you complied and took your first in a series of 95 booster shots. We are all in this together. We are U.S. citizens. Be the people that do not let this happen.
This is something that we don't tolerate. In the end, when people do this kind of thing, there are consequences. The democratic process worked here. There were appeals, there were opportunities for reconsideration, and the court spoke. It's time to recognize this is the law.
I think that, fear-mongering and fear tactics have been used from the very beginning of COVID as it relates to children because they wanted to scare parents. And this is just, it feels like a continuation of that. When you look at the science and you talk to doctors, they will tell you that the seasonal flu is far more deadly for children than COVID-19.
Today, children as young as 5 years old will begin receiving the COVID-19 vaccine in New York City public schools. In San Francisco, they're soon requiring kids age 5 to 11 to show proof of vaccination to enter indoor public spaces like restaurants, entertainment venues, and sporting events.
It's time to recognize this is the law.
Yet, Ainsley, we are not forcing our kids every year in school to get a flu vaccine. That is an optional thing for children. So why the forced vaccine for COVID-19?
The one thing that we need to make sure that Republicans in 2022 don't become is the party of parents, because we need to be the party of parents. and we are. We're the ones that care about school funding. We're the ones that care about making sure that parents can send their kids to school because they have jobs to go to. All of this, we need to own that agenda. We cannot let it go.
This isn't a political statement like those ugly folks over there beeping the horns. This is a patriotic duty, for God's sake. This is not about freedom or personal choice.
Number 15, last but not least, play the victim. And if things go wrong, it's all your fault.
But it's time to start blaming the unvaccinated folks, not the regular folks. It's the unvaccinated folks that are letting us down.
But as a leader of the state, don't you think it's your responsibility to try and help get this situation under control?
I've done all I know how to do.
Many of us are frustrated with the nearly 80 million Americans who are still not vaccinated. This is a pandemic of the unvaccinated.
We are currently experiencing a massive pandemic of the unvaccinated.
The director of the CDC is calling this the pandemic of the unvaccinated.
Clearly a pandemic of the unvaccinated.
The pandemic of the unvaccinated.
A pandemic among the unvaccinated.
It's a pandemic of the unvaccinated.
So it's turning out to be a pandemic of the unvaccinated.
They are calling this a pandemic for the unvaccinated.
There is a clear message that is coming through. This is becoming a pandemic of the unvaccinated.